What is up, everybody? Welcome in to the Fantasy Tap. If you've never joined us before, we are a fantasy football podcast, and we bring the best fantasy football knowledge to you directly to the consumer. John, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling really, really great. I'm excited for another great week of football. After last week, my love for the game, I tilted a little bit on that. But I'm back. I'm
Yes.
excited. I love everything about football except one team, and we're excited. Thursday
Yes.
night
Yes.
game is honestly very, very exciting for me. And if you looked at the Thursday night schedule before the start of the season, you would have thought this was the most boring game ever, and that both these teams would be sitting at 0-2 coming into it.
Very true. That is very true. However, I do think it's going to kind of be boring with that new quarterback that they have. But tonight or today, we have our Thursday night recap or preview. Geez, not recap. And we also have our must starts, must sits, and our streamers for any of you guys looking for a streamer. So, John, what do you want to do first?
Let's just jump into the Thursday night game first. Let's get on with the magic. And I'll just start it off really quick. Obviously, we're talking about Carolina and Houston Texans, both two barn burner teams. And when I say barn burner, I'm not talking about a great show. I'm talking about burn the barn because we just need to start all over on this farm.
Yes.
I do think this is going to be a great week for Sam Darnold, and I do think this is a great test for Davis Mills. Obviously, you're not going to be playing Davis Mills this week unless you are in the worst of situations and the strangest league type. But I do think that Sam Darnold finds himself into a great situation, continuing to be dark horse quarterback one of the year, possibly.
Yes, I like Sam Darnold this week in this matchup. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, I'm playing. Davis Mills, I'm not playing. Whatever, unless, like you said, you're in the strangest situation ever. What do you think about the other running backs, the Texans running backs? Are you interested in any of them?
No, I'm not going to be touching any of them. I do think one of them's probably going to find themselves into the end zone, and it is going to be a run-heavy day. But as far as production from those carries that we're seeing from Houston, we're not getting a lot. So I'd rather take some shots elsewhere. If I were to play any of these guys, they're going to be going into that flex position. So let me take the risk on someone that has a really high ceiling at that point compared to a somewhat stable floor.
Yes, I would agree with you there. I think if you had to choose between one of them, I'm going to choose Mark Ingram only because he's got has been getting the bigger workload, but I'm trying to avoid this backfield at all costs.
Absolutely.
As far as the receivers, in my opinion, there's only one I'm truly, truly interested in this game, and that's going to be DJ Moore. I don't trust Brandon Cooks. I know he's been doing pretty well, but unfortunately, with that new quarterback going up against this defense, I don't feel comfortable playing him.
Yeah, so I'm going to disagree on the Brandon Cooks. He's a very, very comfortable flex play. I think he's someone that you're going to get a floor from him. He's going to get at least 4 catches this week. He may not have 100 yards. He may not put up another 70 and a touchdown, but he is obviously the number one receiver there. There's not much else to throw the ball to. And it's just going to come on the fact that there's going to be some garbage time or just some garbage play in this game. And he'll be usable in a flex play with upside, in my opinion. And then DJ Moore, spoiler alert for later, is actually my wide receiver start of the week. I think him and Sam Darnold have shown a great connection, and he's proven himself to be that number one wide receiver on that team. And we were kind of questioning whether it was going to be Robbie or Terrace Marshall or what was going to go on there. And DJ Morris just continued to go out there and say, no, guys, it's me. I'm still here. So I'm very excited for him.
Awesome. Are you interested in Robbie Anderson or Terrace Marshall before we move on to the tight
Not
ends?
at all. Not at all. I had Robbie Anderson as my sit of the week last week. Otherwise, I'd have him as a sit of the week again. I just don't think that we're going to see a huge day from him unless there just happens to be that one deep ball that just happens to float over his shoulder. And I'm not going to take the shot on expecting that, especially in a game that if Carolina goes up 2 touchdowns, Christian McCaffrey might have 30 carries by the end of it. Or Chuba Hubbard even getting in 10. It could just turn into a situation where Carolina takes off early and just lets the game end.
Yeah, I agree there. I don't trust, and I don't really want to use Robbie Anderson. His average target distance is 21 um, 21 yards, which is second in the league. And you compare that to last season where he was only at 9.8. Last season, he was the clear one on the team. And this year, it's back to DJ Moore, and Robbie has become that, like you said, that distance, that deep threat. Like we were used to seeing him in on the Jets, but yeah, I don't have any interest in playing him. Dan Arnold, Jordan Akins, Farrell Brown, anybody here that you like?
It's funny. I'm going to say no really quickly, but I was in the situation where we were making our streams for the week, and I was just looking at the matchup. Houston's been allowing a lot of points to the tight end. I'm not saying to stream him, but if you took the shot, I wouldn't argue against you on Dan Arnold this week. Again, not a lights out tight end, but the matchup's good. It's going to be a bad defense, and he has been getting some work. And you never know when it could pop off. I do think he gives you, tight end floor.
Yeah. He definitely could. Especially like you said, going up against this defense. And then finally, I love the Panthers defense. I'm actually gonna be talking about them a little bit later in my streams. I think this might be the defense of the week. Rookie quarterback on a short week, going on a Thursday night game. I think there could be 2-3 interceptions by this team or turnovers. I like the Panthers defense.
Yeah, I mean, they're defense 5 on the year on standard scoring formats. So, obviously, like I said, a dark horse defense, a absolutely crazy team to be seeing doing as well as they are. So I like it a lot. I'd play them anytime. As far as Houston, though, do not. Just don't do it.
No need to. No need. All right, let's jump over to our starts, John. Go ahead. Hit them with your quarterback start of the week.
The haters are starting to become believers. I'm saying that you start Jalen Hurts this week in the divisional matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. We all know that Dak Prescott's a guy that's going to be airing out the ball and putting up some yards, hopefully. And Jalen Hurts is going to be responding on the ground, responding in the air. And I do think that this is another week where we see some quality work from Jalen Hurts, and it's going to be hard for me to tell you not to play him. I do actually see him finishing as a top 8 quarterback this week, if not cracking into the top 5. I do see some opportunity for him to rush around the edge, break free, and find himself in the end zone if his red zone work isn't working out very well for him with the receivers and the running backs.
Yep. So. I like Jalen Hurts. This week. My must-start quarterback is going to be Ryan Tannehill. Listen, he had a bad week 1, obviously, just horrendous. Then he didn't perform fantasy-wise. He did not perform well last week. 3 rushing touchdowns by Derrick Henry really took away that touchdown upside that Ryan Tannehill has. But he threw for over 340 yards. I love Ryan Tannehill this week going up against the Colts. The Colts have allowed the 5th most passing yards this year so far. And they have also allowed tied for 3rd for the most passing touchdowns allowed. I love Ryan Tannehill this week going up against that Indianapolis Colts defense. And they might be struggling, that team in general without Carson Wentz. So I like Ryan Tannehill.
I think that's a great play. I think Ryan Tannehill is someone that might be bouncing back pretty hard. So definitely ride that train. Going over to my running back, another guy that I wasn't a believer on, and I haven't been for a while, but Chris Carson going up against Minnesota. Minnesota's defense has been just looking absolutely terrible, and they've really been struggling against the pass catching back so far this season. We do have the idea that Chris Carson is going to continue to be heavily used in this offense, and he is someone that just seems to find himself involved in a lot of play. Minnesota's defense is letting up 221 rushing yards so far this season, putting them middle of the pack. But part of the problem there is Seattle just likes to move the ball in big chunks. And if we see it happen against this weak defense, Chris Carson has a great opportunity to find himself at the 5+ catches and possibly up to 2 touchdowns if things just go miraculously for him. But either way, you do get an incredibly solid floor, and I do think that he's in for a great week.
Yeah, I love that pick. I love Chris Carson this week. I was actually asked today, Robbie Anderson or Chris Carson, and I almost smacked the guy, but it's definitely Chris Carson. I love that. I love that pick. My running back of the week, Tyson Williams, baby. Really, I don't have to talk much about it, but He's going up against the Detroit Lions. He's also leading that backfield in snap percentage as well as touches. So Tyson Williams, I love you this week. Don't make me look bad.
And as I already stated, DJ Moore is my wide receiver start of the week. You got to get him in there and hurry up because the game starts today. Going up against Houston, don't have to say much more. Obviously, the number one wide receiver on the team. Going up against a crap defense, just going to have an absolute great showing.
Yep, I agree. I 100% agree there. My wide receiver of the week is Mr. T. Higgins, baby. I love that offense. I love the work he's getting. He is going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which sounds scary. However, their passing defense has not been the best as far as fantasy wise. And to the wide receiver, they've allowed an average they've allowed an average of 46 points to the wide receiver through 2 weeks. So I like this. If they're going to win, if the Pittsburgh or the Bengals are going to win, they're going to have to use their passing attack. I think it's not going to be a Joe Mixon week, especially going up against that defensive line. Now I know TJ Watt is banged up. Not sure what his status is currently, but I like T Higgins this week to have a very solid week.
Yeah, I like it. I think he's going to be, obviously he's shown to be the number one wide receiver on that team and consistently just looks good with Joe Burrow playing well right now. I'm scared for Joe Burrow. And it might just be my personal thing because we just watched what happened to Tua. But that offensive line versus an incredible defense, I'm afraid we see Burrow running for his life a little bit this week. And I think T. Higgins will be that safety blanket after what we've seen for the past 2 seasons so far. So I'm going to jump on that train with you.
And then 10 targets this past week. It's a lot.
Yeah. So finally, I'm going to jump into my tight end, and I'm hoping to be right because I think everything is going to go right for this guy. But we are going to say that we are definitely starting Kyle Pitts this week against the New York Giants. Currently, they've ranked 4th most points allowed to the tight end, averaging 20.45 points. Obviously, we know Atlanta is a team that doesn't have the most receiving options outside of Calvin Ridley, Cordarrelle Patterson, and Kyle Pitts themselves. So I do think this is a game where Kyle Pitts finally finds the end zone and puts up enough points to be considered tight end 1 and be worth that draft position you took him as. This should be a great week for him. I'm excited. He seems to be getting more and more work every week.
Yeah, I love that pick, John. I really do. I mean, I think it's a perfect matchup, and he's going to bust onto the scene this week. Had a solid week last week, and I think it's going to just compound. Moving over to my tight end of the week, that is Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas. Really, I mean, it's not the best matchup for tight ends going up against a difficult Buffalo Bills defense, but at the end of the day, I think that's going to, if the Washington football team wants to stay in this game, they're going to have to get their passing attack going. Antonio Gibson a little banged up and whatnot, but I think it's going to run through Terry McLaurin as well as Logan Thomas. We saw that Taylor Heinicke is a very competent quarterback, and I love the fact that Logan Thomas got 7 targets last week. Obviously didn't get in the end zone, but he was averaging about 9 yards per catch. So against this Buffalo team, it should be somewhat, they're going to have to throw the ball a lot to stay up with this team. So I think it's going to go to Terry McLaurin, and I think it's going to go to Logan Thomas. I love Logan Thomas.
Yeah, I like Logan Thomas a lot. And at least at that tight end position, he's someone that gives you that high end floor for a tight end. So every week's going to at least be a solid week to play him. And I do think that he's someone that could sneak through and help bring that Buffalo defense's points against the tight end down a few notches and make them look a little more viable to play against. Jump over to the sits really quickly. My quarterback sit of the week was actually my quarterback start of last week. That's going to be Jameis Winston. Now, I'm not bringing this up purely on the fact that Jameis just had an off day and didn't look like what he did in week 1, but he is going up against the New England Patriots this week, an incredibly well-rounded defense, and they've only been allowing 9.4 points to the quarterback through the first 2 weeks. So obviously, what could be a great matchup? That number's little deflated due to the fact that they played Zach Wilson last weekend and then Tua Tagovailoa the first weekend. but I don't think we're going to see New Orleans come into Gillette and absolutely just dominate that team. I do see a slow week for Jameis Winston and possibly just a strong rushing attack from Alvin Kamara coming this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough one for him. I mean, it's always tough playing a Bill Belichick defense. Now, my sit of the week, and I'm really bringing this up because it's going to be on everybody's radar. And I know a lot of people are hot on this guy, but it's Justin Fields. He's going to be getting his first start. He's going into Cleveland, okay? A very tough defense. Now, they have been very good against the quarterback. They've been very bad. I'm sorry. Very good for the opposing quarterback. Very bad for themselves. I think that they've allowed the third most points to the quarterback, but at the end of the day, this is a rookie playing a very tough defense. Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney on either side, getting after him. I know he has that rushing upside, but I don't want to play him this week. I know a lot of people are saying start him over, pretty much the top 10 or after the top 10 quarterbacks. You're starting him because of his upside, and I understand he has a ton of upside, and this might bite me in the butt, but this is not a team I want him going with against. I think it could be some turnovers, and I'm just not comfortable starting Justin Fields this week, which is really why I'm saying sit him. Next week, if he plays, he might be my must start of the week.
Hey, I mean, if he plays, he plays. It's going to be an interesting week. Another game that we're definitely going to want to be paying attention to because of what it could be. But moving on to my running back of the week, and I am going to have to say that I finally hit that point. Sit James Robinson. Do not put him in your lineup. He's not the guy from last year. It is official. I'm on the train. Mike was there last week, and I am there now. Going up against Arizona, though, that defense is another one that was getting a lot of sideways looks this offseason as possibly just being not that great, but seems to be keeping an incredible time stopping the rushing attack as well as keeping those quarterbacks pressured. I do not trust James Robinson in that terrible offense to do anything. And realistically, I miss Gardner Minshew in Jacksonville right now.
Everybody does. Everybody misses that mullet. My running back sit of the week is going to be Darrell Henderson going up against a very tough defense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Very extremely tough front seven. And not only that, Darrell Henderson is banged up right now. He didn't practice on Wednesday with a rib cartilage injury. My concern here, obviously going up against a very tough defense, but not only that is one hit and he could be out of the game. You get what I'm saying? I mean, that's a pretty painful injury. Anybody who's had rib injuries, no, it's a pretty painful injury. So Darrell Henderson is out, and I think we saw Sony Michel get involved a little more last week, and I think we're going to continue to see that. Now, Darrell Henderson was on the field the most, but I do think that Sony Michel, with this injury plus going up against this defense, we might see a little more involvement from Sony Michel, which could take that ceiling off from Darrell Henderson.
I do like that. My wide receiver sit of the week is going to be Brandon Ayuk. He's hurt me too much, just like James Robinson. And even though we're starting to hear some more news about don't panic about Brandon Ayuk in San Francisco right now, it's just not something I want to be a part of. The guy has gotten 3 targets in the past 2 weeks, not putting up any sort of points, not being someone I'm going to be throwing into my lineup this week, going against Green Bay Packers. Doing a little bit of research, we do see that possibly part of the problem is Jimmy Garoppolo. Brandon Ayuk did get a majority of his passes last season, not from Jimmy G, but actually from Nick Mullins in the games where he had his biggest flashes. Brandon Ayuk also getting a majority of his targets. I believe it was 23% of them on the sideline or within 5 yards of the sideline. And Jimmy Garoppolo has a history of getting the ball picked off when he makes those wide throws. So maybe it's just scheming based off the quarterback, and we can start looking at Ayuk if Trey Lance starts getting the start. But as of right now, I'm completely just sitting him and going to allow Green Bay to let Deebo Samuel continue to be that team's number 1 wide receiver.
All right. My wide receiver sit of the week is going to be, and John's going to hate this, Brandon Cooks. The Carolina Panthers have allowed the 5th least amount of points to the wide receiver. And with that, on top of the rookie quarterback, I'm sorry, Brandon Cooks, I'm not playing you this week.
I do hate that.
No.
Because yes, they might have been allowing the fourth least amount of points, but they're still allowing 26.8% of the points to the wide receiver on average, which if you go through Houston, you'll see only one wide receiver scoring points. So give them 90% of that 26 that they're allowing, and you're still looking at a possible wide receiver one on the week. I'll take him at the flex, though, and I'll definitely we'll have to keep an eye on him this week. I like him a lot this year just on pure garbage and being the only man available.
Yes, I understand that, but it's not Tyrod Taylor back there. It's a third-round pick rookie.
But
I don't know. I just don't think it adds up.
Even before the season, we were still saying Brandon Cook's trash because it's Tyrod Taylor there. No one liked Tyrod Taylor until week 1.
Right.
Now we've got a rookie and still the only guy that can catch a ball on that team. So I still trust him on a low end, but I can believe him and be wrong by the end of the year. We'll have to see, or even the end of the week. My tight end sit of the week, though, is actually going to be Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbust. Going up against the Tampa defense. I'm just not taking the shot on that. Tampa's defense has been very, very stout against the tight end, even though they haven't really played many teams that have the fanciest tight ends or the biggest names. I just don't see that Matt Stafford has that connection with Tyler Higbee that you're talking or that you're seeing from what Jared Goff and him had. Obviously, week 1, he did have a usable week, but week 2 really just turned out to be a complete bust. And I think you can find better streaming options out there. So I would take the shot on someone else before I'm throwing Tyler Higbee into this lineup.
Yeah, I am avoiding Tyler Higbee if I can at all. Not at all costs, but if I can. So, all right, let's see my tight end start of the week, or I'm sorry, sit of the week is, and no surprise here, Mike Gesicki going up against that Raiders defense. They've been very, very stout against the tight ends. Not only that, Tua's not playing, Jacoby Brissett's in, Will Fuller's coming back. It's a away game. In Las Vegas. I mean, the list goes on. I'm staying away from Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, he's someone that only seems to pop up at the most random times, and I'd call him touchdown dependent, but he's not even doing that this season. So gonna just have to agree with you and move on from him. Jumping over to some streams of the week. You got to throw in your boy Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, going up. He's going to be my start of the week, actually.
It's not too late.
Well, I mean, I did, but then I was like, we did Jameis Winston last week. Didn't work out too well, so I'll just let you take him.
Diversify those portfolios there. So Teddy Bridgewater going up against the New York Jets. Obviously, we've seen Teddy Bridgewater be an absolute monster. That offense has been moving very, very well. Throwing for almost 500 yards so far this year, as well as 4 touchdowns. We can expect to see touchdowns this week. So I'm definitely taking the shot on him, and I'd even play him over Jameis Winston this week, who is my sit.
There we go. My stream of the week is none other than Sam Darnold. Been on a heater lately, going up against that Texans defense, who's they're okay against they're middle of the pack against the quarterback so far. But honestly, maybe it's a shootout. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I like Sam Darnold there with Christian McCaffrey. You can just dump the ball off, and that could be an easy passing touchdown for 99 yards. Who knows? So I love Sam Darnold this week. If you need a streamer.
I'll agree with you. Both of our streamers are 2 guys that were off of everyone's radar and are completely blowing our socks off. Very happy for both of them so far this year. Another guy that's in that category, Cordarrelle Patterson, going up against the New York Giants this week. Giants, again, not someone who's been very stout against the run, ranked 25th or 7th in most points allowed to the running back so far. And it does seem that Cordarrelle Patterson is possibly that team's number 1 running back or wide receiver. In general, just an amazing fantasy asset so far, getting work in each aspect, and should continue to see some this week. So if you need someone to throw into that flex position, I do think there's a possibility to throw him in there over some bigger names. And if you are risky and don't have many running backs, he is a wide receiver / RB. So he's someone with upside that can slot into your running back position if you need to take that shot.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Definitely, somebody's got to, lead the backfield and targets and stuff there. So I mean, why not him? My running back is Latavius Murray. Now I know my start was Tyson Williams, same team, but Latavius Murray, owning 50% of leagues, is getting the same amount of red zone, has gotten the same amount of red zone touches, and has gotten in the end zone both weeks. So I like the fact that he has gotten 10 and 9 touches the last 2 weeks, and up against this Detroit defense, they could put up some points on him and then just run the clock out with Latavius Murray there at the back end. And of course, like I said, same amount of red zone touches as Tyson Williams on the year. So I like Latavius Murray if you need a streaming running back.
There you go. Going over to the wide receiver, we've got a name that I feel terrible for saying because it's not my favorite receiver on the same team. But Quintez Cephas going up against Cleveland Browns. Quintez Cephas is someone who's going to be the only wide receiver on that team so far that looks to have any sort of chance to be catching the ball. And I'm sorry, I said Cleveland Browns. I meant the Ravens. Again, my apologies. But again, Jared Goff going up against a team that is a stout defense, but only having 2 options so far as it looks on the receiver categories. And I do think that they are going to use their secondary coverage in Baltimore to primarily cover TJ Hawkinson, who's coming out and just being a monster, and leaving guys like Cephas and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who are not the most deadly threats, available just to get some targets in there. And I think he'll slot into a flex play quite comfortably, finding somewhat of a floor with possible upside again if he just continues to find the end zone.
Yeah, no, I agree. That wide receiver core there is pretty much non-existent. Rondale Moore coming off a huge week. Now, I'm not even gonna lie, I was gonna make this AJ Green because he's been on the field longer or more. He's gotten more consistent targets, but I want that big playability in my streamer, and that's Rondale Moore. They're going up against Jacksonville, who's given up to over 260 yards to the wide receiver already through 2 weeks. I like Rondale Moore. I think there could be a big play. I think he's in for another big play. And honestly, after that showing he had, I think they start working him in more to be that team's wide receiver too. So Rondale Moore, you are my stream of the week. Like I said, could be AJ Green, but I'm going Rondale.
I like it. I like it a lot. And again, we mentioned this, I believe it was yesterday's episode, where we talked about how it's going to be one of their weeks as that number 2 receiver, and it's just a matter of predicting which one it's going to be versus what defense. And I think you hit the nail on the head here. Rondale Moore is someone who's, I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to start just getting used in creative and more creative ways, especially with that running back room not really turning out to be the most sought after thing. Might as well use that speedy wide receiver to get you some interesting yards and use on those 3rd down plays that no one's thought of yet. I like that a lot. Going over to my tight end of the week, I'm going to say Jared Cook, a name I haven't even thought of this season until looking at the Chargers so far. I do think him going up against Kansas City could be a streamable play. He has found a little bit of consistency last week, or a little bit of a showing last week to make Justin Herbert look a little bit better. But again, you're streaming tight ends. I'm not saying this guy needs to be going out there above any of the top 12. I don't even know if I play him over Tyler Higbee, but I do find myself on the fence between them right now. So if you need someone, that could be someone that you might be able to slide in there.
Yeah, definitely. He was mine last week. I think he put up like 7 points or something like that, 5 points. Which honestly, lately, that's all you need. All you need is 7 points and you're golden. So Jared Cook, nice play there. Nice play there. He had 4.3, not good. Cole Kmet, that is my stream of the week. Listen, I know Fields is my quarterback sit, but I think if he's going to get it done, he's going to need a safety blanket. Yes, Allen Robinson is there, but that's too obvious. I think that tight end could be his go-to guy, or at least his safety blanket, get that first down. And we might even be in for a Cole Kmet touchdown this week. Now, he did regress in targets. He only had 1 target last week, didn't even catch it. But I'm sorry, he did catch it, but no yards. But I think that Cole Kmet going up against his Cleveland defense, who's been not very good against the tight end, and he's also Kmet's the clear tight end on the field, over 72% of the snaps. So I think this week with a rookie quarterback, Cole Kmet is somebody he can lean on if Allen Robinson is not available.
I do like it. I think that you're, again, looking at that tight end position and just trying to find someone who can get themselves into the end zone. And Komet's going into, I believe it's year 2.
Year 2.
He's in year 2 now. In year 2 now, and was someone that was supposed to be very highly talented and sought after. So maybe this is when the breakout fully starts after just one bad week.
I don't need a breakout. I just need a touchdown.
Hey, the touchdown.
Give me 7 points.
Well, you got at least the yard, so 7.1.
There we go.
Hey, and half point PPR, 7.6.
Yep. There we go.
There you go.
So.
All right, guys.
That's
going to be the episode. I
don't
always
forget about the defense, man. Come on.
I always do this. So my defense of the week, this is just, defenses. My defense of the week is going to be the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, week 1, we had the sack machine, Chandler Jones, go off. And then this week, we've got them going up against Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think we could see Chandler Jones with another sack, possibly 2.
He didn't even get a tackle this past week.
You know what? The man's playing strategically. You gotta hide.
Take it where you can get it.
Hide against the tough defenses, so the weak ones stop looking for you, and then you capitalize and make Trevor Lawrence look like something. But I do like Arizona Cardinals this weekend. I don't think that there's any opportunity for them to be able to get shut down as far as fantasy points go, and they are owned in 46.2% of leagues, meaning that they should be available for you to pick up for this week.
Yeah. So, and then my streaming defense, which is crazy that they're still a streamer, are the Carolina Panthers, only owned in 46.8% of leagues, owned in going up against the Texans. I think it could be a rough night for Davis Mills and that Texans offense. Couple picks, couple turnovers. Let's go Panthers.
There you go. I like it.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Glad you could listen to our Thursday night breakdown and our must starts, must sits. If you could do us a favor, subscribe, like this video, comment on what you think, who's your must start. Let us know in the comments below. We would love to hear it. And also, don't forget, go check out. We just launched. If you're listening to this via audio, if you guys could go subscribe to our YouTube, go check out our listener league updates. We are recording we just launched one last night. We're pretty much showing you what's happening through our listener league. And then also my 0 running back strategy series. Those are 2 YouTube only series that we're doing. So go check those out.
Yeah, guys, we have about 100 are listening to these podcasts. So if you guys are interested in seeing these in a video format, or maybe just didn't even know that there was more content out there available for you, make sure you guys jump over to that YouTube channel. Give us some love if you're enjoying these episodes on the podcast format, and let us know what else you guys want to see. Thank you guys so much for being supporters and being a part of this great community. Join our other community that is included in this fantasy football lifestyle, the Discord channel. That'll be linked down in the description on the podcast as well as the YouTube. And there you can find a lot of people to help you with your start sits and help you find better plays for the week, maybe even find you some streaming options or some fantasy players that are sitting on your waivers this minute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you next time.